everybody. Welcome back to the latest edition of Terrace Talk. It's quite a quick turnaround for Norwich City. Of course, defeat against Watford the other night. Looking to try and bounce back on the road again this weekend away at Bristol City. And with that, delighted to be joined by Robins fan Jack Buchanan. Jack, first and foremost, thanks for coming on the show. Really do appreciate your time. Defeat last night against Southampton. I was speaking to you just off camera. You said, a relatively good first half performance, maybe less so in the second half. But, a lot of teams are going to go to Southampton and unfortunately suffered a defeat. What did you make of it more generally?
Yeah, I think overall it was a very positive performance. We so far under Liam Manning in the first sort of 3 games, we've been a lot slower in possession, a lot more like controlled, which I quite like. It's a bit kind of 50-50, I think, over who likes it and who preferred the get the ball and move really fast approach that we had under Pearson, which you could argue worked at points, but also worked against us quite a lot of the time. And yeah, first half especially, we did well to kind of frustrate Southampton, limit them to a few chances. We had 2 really good chances in that first half, which I'm amazed that we didn't score. Mark Sykes with a header at the back post that Bazunu's kind of like dived backwards across his goal and managed to sweep it away. But then yeah, Southampton scored so early in the second half, and it was a brilliant goal from Walker Peters, and our heads just kind of dropped until the 80th minute. We made a couple of changes. Mehmeti came on and looked good. Cornick did all right when he came on, but yeah, a disappointing defeat, but not too bad of a performance, I suppose.
Yeah, it's currently 12th in the league. You mentioned there the kind of managerial change with Liam Manning's arrival. Before that, of course, Nigel Pearsons was sacked just over a month ago now, and 5 defeats in 7 before he was sacked. What did you make of that change at the time? I think, he sort of was a manager who'd been at Bristol City for a few years. A little bit disappointment or maybe no surprise?
It was a shame to see him go. I think probably the majority of fans seem to think that it was maybe the wrong timing to let him go. There have been so many points sort of this time last year where we were in an awful run of form and looked to be on a one-track sort of ride towards relegation. And if you were going to pull the trigger, you'd have thought they'd have done it then. But they didn't. They stuck with him and he turned it around, to be fair to him. Second half of last season, we were excellent and started okay to this year. And it just felt like weird timing. We had so many injuries at the time. I know the game he got sacked off the back of was Cardiff, which is obviously one of our derbies. But we had like 12 first-team players out injured or something mad like that. We had to give an academy kid his debut at left back. And it just wasn't... It felt like the wrong timing, like I said. But I suppose the thought process would probably get Manning in. I mean, he missed the Sheffield Wednesday game because he hadn't quite got the job yet. But the QPR game, all right, we didn't win. But they probably would have saw it as a winnable game to kick him on. And then to give him that bit of time to work on the team, I guess, before Middlesbrough and Southampton, which we've obviously just come back off the back of now.
Yeah, what have you made of his start so far under Liam Manning? You sort of mentioned the games there and the results. Has he made any sort of drastic changes in the way he sets up the teams, or what sort of style of football has he brought to Bristol City?
Yeah, the systems remained more or less the same. We seem to kind of drop into a bit of a back 3 when we have the ball, which I quite like. Tanner seems to shift across into a sort of wide centre-half role with Viner and Dickey, and then whoever the left-back is last night, it was Naismith, but usually it's Cameron Pring. He was suspended last night. Kind of shifts into a sort of almost libero role, I guess, sort of similar to, obviously nowhere near the level of John Stones for Man City, but that sort of role where they move into midfield and they're a little bit more creative. And Naismith didn't really do it fantastically last night and picked up an injury, which was a shame. But having Cameron Pring back on Saturday will be good for us. And like I said earlier, we're a lot more possession based now. We struggled when we didn't have the ball last night against Southampton, but still defended fairly well. But against Middlesbrough, I don't know what the exact possession statistics were, but we had a lot of the ball, especially in the first half, very calm and controlled with it. And I'm a big fan of it personally.
Yeah, it was a fairly busy transfer window down in Bristol City this summer that's just gone. Of course, you lost the star man of one of the other Championship, Alex Scott, to Bournemouth, but lots of sort of relatively known Championship players through the door, the likes of Rob Dickey and Gardner Hickman, of course, Jason Knight, who'd done well at Derby. Have any of those really stood out so far? And maybe what did you make of that business in the summer?
All 3 of the ones you've mentioned have actually been really, really good so far, to be fair. Dickey had a little bit of a shaky start, got sent off against Birmingham in, I think, his second start, maybe. And that was a bit disappointing. But other than that, Jason Knight and especially Gardner Hickman, the bits we've seen of him, it took him a while to break into the starting 11, but since he's been unplayable at times. And that goal he scored against Middlesbrough last week, I'm sure you've seen it online, was spectacular.
Yeah, expectations for the season more generally, of course, currently nearly halfway through the season, sitting 12th, but just outside the playoff mix, and it's very tight up there, sort of between quite a number of sides. What are the hopes? Is it going to try and be to get into the playoffs this season, or maybe do you think you'll fall short?
I think we will. I think we will ultimately fall short. I think we'll probably be. I said from the start of the season, I'd be happy with just progression from last year. We finished 14th last year. I think if we can squeeze into the top half, sort of anywhere between 12th and 9th, I'd be happy with. I think this year. I don't really see us being in the running for the playoffs come the sort of last 5, 6 games. I think we'll just be more or less where we are now, to be fair, which I don't mind too much. Obviously, we've had the managerial change now. Whether or not we can get a good run of form going under Manning if he gets backed in January and do a bit of a Aston Villa circa 2019 where they go on a mad run and push into the playoffs, that would be excellent. I certainly wouldn't complain. But it feels unlikely. I feel like next year, maybe if Manning's a little bit more established and gets backed in the transfer market again, hopefully, then maybe we can have a bit of a crack then. But this year, I think solid mid-table.
Yeah, Anis Mehmeti is a player who came through the Norwich City Academy. There's going to be a little bit of interest probably from those watching this to how he's getting on. Sort of looked at through the sort of stats so far this season, yet to really register a goal or an assist, but making sort of lots of appearances mainly off the bench. What Bristol City fans made of him and sort of what sort of talents has he brought to Ashton Gate?
He's another one who's quite divisive so far, I think. I like him. I think he's one of those players that we've lacked for a little while, other than Semenyo, who obviously we sold to Bournemouth last year, where they get the ball and you're instantly like, right, they can do something here. They've got that sort of that spark about them where, they'll take a player on, they'll entice you with a step over or something like that. And it just gets the crowd going a little bit. And I think we're very close now to fitting the puzzle together with him and getting a really, really solid player out of him. Obviously, he's been here since last January. I think he made one of his early appearances against you guys at Ashton Gate last year. And he looked good then, and he's shown it in flashes. There's been sort of flashes of brilliance and glimmers of hope with him, but he's just not quite got the consistent game time either, to be fair to him, to show it on a regular basis so far.
Yeah, noticed that you're fifth lowest in the goal scored rank in the Championship so far this season. Very good defensively. What's been the major issues, I'd say, sort of going forwards? Is it the lack of service, or has it been an issue that maybe the strikers are not taking their chances? Has there any sort of been an underlying issue, I suppose, that has maybe had to be dealt with by the managers?
It's been probably a little bit of both. I think the first sort of 3-4 games, there was a real lack of service. It was like, I think our first 2 goals of the season against Preston and Millwall came from set pieces. And then when we didn't get many set pieces against Birmingham, we failed to score, lost 2-0. Same again against Norwich in the Cup when we lost 1-0. And then it was like went to Hull, finally created loads of chances, but couldn't take them. And that's been kind of the story so far. It's like there's been 1 or 2 games where we've taken the chances we've got, but overall it seems to just be a lack of clinicalness, I guess. It's like Conway was injured at the start of the year, and everyone was like, right, we'll get him back. And then all of a sudden, these chances will start going in. And it looked like that was going to happen. He came on off the bench from his injury at Rotherham, scored twice in about 5 minutes, 2 brilliant goals. But then since then, his only goal was a penalty last weekend. And he's got 3 goals in 6 starts, to be fair to him this year. So you can't be too harsh, but he probably should have scored last night. So I'm in a bad mood with him.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of frustration, much like that in the Norwich City camp at the moment. Disappointing results and sort of falling down the league table. Just interested to get what your take has been on the Canaries so far this season from an outside view. Of course, 14th in the division at the moment, 7 points outside the playoffs. David Wagner's under a lot of pressure. Are you surprised maybe Norwich haven't made the change before now?
I was half expecting him to go over the international break, I think, because recent 5, 6, 7 years, you've been that team that were constantly bouncing between the Premier League and the Championship, and everyone just kind of presumes when you came down last year that you were going to be in and around that mix again. But I guess Burnley just kind of decided to go and storm the league, really, didn't they? But so that obviously put a bit of a stop to you. But how you didn't get in the playoffs last year, I don't really know. I was definitely expecting top 6 from you, and then similar again this year. So it seems a bit strange that it hasn't really clicked. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I'd have said Wagner probably would have gone by now, but if you don't get a result on Saturday, it wouldn't surprise me if you pull the trigger after that.
Yeah, I think that's probably the feeling amongst most of the Norwich fans at the moment. We're going to turn the attention now forward to the game there on Sunday. What's your take on it? How are you feeling? You just sort of defeat there last night, but against a good side, and Norwich sort of in a little bit of poor form. You've got the new manager bounce that you're still trying to sort of ride at the moment. Is the expectations a victory on Sunday, or maybe are you feeling slightly more pessimistic?
Expectation, probably not a win, but I think there's hope that we could get one. I think is kind of the feeling. We're yet to be completely outplayed, I think, this season. I can't really think of any games where I've sat there and been like, we're completely out of this. Like, we've lost 2-0 to Birmingham and Cardiff, but both of their second goals came really, really late on in the game. So it's like there was always that feel of we could just get one chance and take it. So if we can keep that going against you guys, then hopefully with your slightly dodgy defence, as we saw on Tuesday night, conceding those 3 or 4 to Watford in the end from 2-0 up, hopefully we can start taking our chances and kind of have a bit of an opposite to what we did last night.
Yeah, for any Norwich fans watching this, if you want a little bit of optimism, Bristol City have only recorded 1 victory in the last 13 against Norwich. So it's a little bit of a bogey side maybe. And with that, going to put you on the spot for a score prediction, Jack. Yeah, you mentioned there maybe not feeling confident for the win, but yeah, what are you feeling?
I'm going to go for a 1-1. I think I'd probably take a point. I don't think it'd be too bad of a result. I just don't think we can afford to lose another game. I think if we lose it, then you kind of get any sort of hope of, we could still get in the playoffs. I think that probably just dies. We've got a really important run now between now and Christmas. Obviously, we got you guys, then we got Huddersfield on next weekend, and then Sunderland, Blackburn, and Hull. So for those three, especially Sunderland, Blackburn, Hull, really, really key if we do want to sort of kick on in that top half. And yeah, a win would be lovely, but I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I could see something similar. We'll see what we get on Sunday. Before we round off, Jack, do you want to just plug your YouTube channel and where any Norwich or Bristol City fans can find the content on Sunday?
Yeah, so Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, it's literally just Jack Buchanan. Instagram's Jack Buchanan Media. So yeah, there'll be a vlog out on Sunday evening sort of time from the game. So yeah, feel free to come and check it out.
There we go. That's the place to go. And with that, we're going to round off the show. Thanks, Jack, for your time this afternoon. Hopefully you've all enjoyed that insight. No problem at all. Hopefully you've enjoyed the insight there on Bristol City and what Norwich City are going to be facing on Sunday lunchtime. Looking forward to the journey down to Ashton Gate, one of my favourite stadiums, I think, in the Championship. So always enjoy a trip down there. With that, we're going to round off. We'll see you next week for another Terrace Talk, and that will be against Preston North End.